Welcome to Kim Talks Resilience, where we share stories of insight and inspiration in life, love, and business with resilient women from around the world. Speaking with authors, entrepreneurs, founders, and coaches to learn their strategies for a more resilient life so we can all build the life we love. I'm your host, Kim Hayden. Our guest today, Yvonne Winkler. And by the way, I love that name, Winkler, because it reminds me of Happy Days. But Yvonne Winkler is the author of the Amazon best-selling memoir, Freedom Seeker, Reclaiming Feminine Wisdom. Poignantly and candidly written, Yvonne writes about the power of transformation as we learn about our journey over barbed wire fences, through debilitating dependencies, and eventually the possibility of freedom. She is the CEO of Lotus Consulting Inc., and organization in the mission of supporting women's well-being through empowerment, harmony, and collaboration. Yvonne is a Berkman certified professional. She is a student of the Academy of Emerging Women. We'll hear about that because that sounds very interesting. And she is a business graduate from St. Francis Xavier University. She is a mental health advocate, speaker, facilitator, author, get this, a schnauzer mama, and a nature lover. So let's get Yvonne in here, and we're going to kick it off with the hardest question most women have. Good morning, Yvonne. What's the hardest
Good
question
morning.
a woman can be asked? Who are you?
Who are you?
Who are you, Yvonne? Give us a little insight. As I love the schnauzer mama, but
Mhm.
give us a little insight as to who is Yvonne?
Well, let's start there. I love that question, Kim, and I love that it isn't about all the titles and labels and accomplishments, but rather who am I? How am I showing up in the world? And um, I'm a I'm a woman first and foremost. I identify as a woman, and I'm a daughter. I'm a wife. And I'm a schnauzer mama. I'm not a mother to other humans, but I treat my schnauzer puppy certainly as my baby. And I'm I'm an advocate for women's health. I'm an advocate for equality. I'm an advocate for mental health and for everyone. Who am I? I'm a nature lover and a music lover. I love to dance. I love to sing, only in the shower though, and only to myself.
The
I
shower
think that's
has the
it.
best acoustics.
The best. The bathroom
Yeah.
in general has really great acoustics for singing, belching, really.
Yeah. So, um, in your journey, now you're here in Canada. Can you give
Mhm.
us a little bit of your journey coming, like, because you were you born here? You weren't born in Canada. So that's where your origin story starts within the book, right? Is that kind of all of those memories and that journey, and not the easiest. So what I'd like to do is go through that, because we have a lot of movement in this world right now, and we're watching these journeys of people walking not hundreds of miles, but thousands, and in some of the most dangerous ways, to get to safety, to get to the next beginning. And you lived this as a young child,
Mhm.
right? Not necessarily the same safety thing, but that look for a new beginning. And
Mhm.
and there's a lot of identity within that, because our nationalism is also part of our identity, right? So
Yes.
I'd love for you to share with us a little bit of what you're doing today, and how your origin story is a bit of a catalyst for the journey you're on right now.
Mhm. Yes. So I was born and raised in former communist Germany, and we lived there until I was 11 years old, uh, when we attempted to escape uh, communism. The borders between Austria and Hungary were opened, and my parents decided to attempt to get out from communism that way. That failed. We were caught just before the border, and my story really starts there. That was in what I define today as my moment where I had to grow up really quick. My world changed that very day in a fundamental and monumental way, and it's been the underlying tone and value for our story is freedom. That was the moment when we had to decide uh, who we wanted to be and how we are going to get through this together as a family. To go to just illustrate to the listeners and viewers what communism was like. Communism is very similar to what I'm imagining prison is like. You have all of the basic necessities of life. You get food, you have shelter, you have a bed to sleep in, but you don't have any choice about where you to leave or to access information, such as books or TV. Is It's all censored. Um, and that was a very important piece for the communist government, obviously, because that was how they reined us in, that's how they kept us in check, and how they kept us in control. Something that has been emerging for me, though, especially on today's Women's Day and celebrating equality, is what communism had done really well, um, was equality. We were all treated very much equal. So it was, whether that was equal pay, whether that was uh, equal, what am I trying to say? Equal,
The parity amongst gender, you're paid
yes,
based on skill set, correct? Not
skill
gender
set.
or
Exactly, and not on gender and the expectation. That's what I was looking for. The expectations were the same, so there was no difference in terms of, because I'm a woman, my the expectations that were placed on me were smaller or in any way limited. So I just wanted to speak to that, especially to today's International Women's Day. That was actually something that I think the communist regime did really well. There was no distinction between us.
well, and one of the things I want to point out, the Berlin Wall did not come down until 1989. So I know that anybody who's listening to this or watching this video, I know Yvonne looks like she's 30. The reality is that if you are a 30-year-old, you are so blessed that you've only known a Germany that is
Yeah,
unified and
yeah.
free. And uh, and what I want to do is I want to dive into the quest you're on now. First of all, tell me, what is the Academy of Emerging Women? Because that sounds very interesting. What is that?
Yes.
Because you say you're a student of Academy of
Hmm.
Emerging Women.
Yeah, I don't think we're ever going to graduate from that school. It, Carrie Parsons is the founder of the Academy of Emerging Women, and she has been my mentor and coach and teacher for the past 4 years. And her school is teaching women to trust their own intuition, to really reclaim their feminine wisdom, to listen to their bodies and to their hearts before listening to the outside world, and aiming and achieving whatever it is that social standard has us chasing after. So it's a school of patience. It's a school of relearning and rediscovering who we are as women and reclaiming that.
Okay, so if I'm hearing timelines correctly, you've been in this academy for 4 years and you just brought your book out. So can you share with us how this first of all, what got you to activate the academy? We see
Mm-hmm.
all sorts of opportunities out there, And yet, a lot of times we sit on the sideline and we let those opportunities pass by. We don't engage because we either fear what we will discover or fear that it won't work for us, for me, right? That work may work for you, but it won't work for me because for a lot of women walk around going, I'm I'm unique within my circumstances, so things won't work for me. So walk me through that a little bit of that timeline. 4 years, you go into this journey. You just released your book. And my understanding, you are a certified coach also. Is this correct? Or you're coaching, or you have a program? Like, I want to find out a little bit
Mhm.
more about what you're
You bet.
doing and how this journey went through.
You bet. Yes, and what a great question, Kim. I don't think anyone has ever asked me that. Um, the when I left my corporate job for the second time 5 years ago, let's call it 4.5 years ago, um, I intuitively knew that I needed support. I wasn't going to be able to do this on my own. I needed support from a skill set perspective, like becoming an entrepreneur, doing all of this. That was one part, and I was pretty good at learning learning that part. I mean, I'm a graduate, business graduate, so I understand how business works, and I had some of that down. But what I was missing was the emotional support. I knew I needed someone to walk me through the valley of the low moments and decipher through that. And so a friend of mine had said, I met this really incredible coach. You need to talk to her. And I booked an appointment. And it's really important, Kim, to know that this was all acting on intuition. This was not a logical decision whatsoever. I mean, I just left my corporate job. I was not in a financial position to, splurge on a coach. If anything, I needed business coaching, not personal coaching. But I just knew that I needed that support, the emotional support. And how everyone gives like a 30-minute or hour, free consultation just to check out if you vibe together.
Yeah.
And that's what I took her up on. And I sat in her office. It was downtown Calgary, little office she had, and knew within 5 minutes she was the woman that was going to be able to guide me through this process. Her languaging was very different from anything I had experienced. She was not surface at all. She dove right into the heart space, and we were going deep right away. And that is definitely what makes my heart sing, because I love going have deep, meaningful conversations, and she dug right in. So that's how I met Carrie, and our work pursued from there. I coached with her one on one, but then I also joined her academy, and we did a lot of group learning together.
What were the things that activate? So I know I have always been an entrepreneur. I have never had a corporate job. And one of the things that I find interesting is when I do work with people who are in the corporate space, even just setting up podcasts, is their understanding of like how even like different apps work, right? Because a lot of
Mhm,
corporations, everything's insular within their framework. So we're dealing with you coming out of a corporate world where all of your information and your applications have been controlled within a corporate space. So now you have to find all that. I mean, and let's
mhm,
face it, you're no dummy. You're a smart woman, but all of this is new, which then goes
yeah,
in and undermines everything you're trying to build personally. That
mhm,
strength, right? That strength base. So there's this like wicked almost ecosystem of self-doubt that goes on for female
huge.
entrepreneurs when you're starting, and especially right now with women leaving corporate America by the droves.
Mhm,
This is going on. What was
mhm.
in moving into this entrepreneurship mindset? What were the greatest challenges you faced?
Hmm. The emotional support part, because I feel for women that is probably more pronounced than perhaps our male counterparts. It's We've been told who and what we needed to be for so long. and that we're not enough, that we need this fixing and that fixing. And so an entrepreneurial mindset meets is the junction of I I don't resonate with this and I want something different, and yet having to still work through uh, the uh, the developmental part of that to relearn authenticity. That's essentially what it comes down to. I think, and I alluded to it earlier. It's very easy for me to learn and be book smart. But what makes an entrepreneur uh, sustainable is when they find their authenticity in what it is they're doing. So it's about joy, yes. It's about passion, yes. But really, the authenticity to who am I, how am I showing up, and that authenticity promotes the confidence we need to get out there and do what it is we do. And it's the why that Simon Sinek talks about. It's that it's it's what will get us through those hard moments. And I think that was really what was the hardest for me, and still is the hardest for me today. Is I uh, on a personal note, I'm going through some very personal, like not very personal, but personal things right now that are um, uh, taxing on my mind and on my heart, and then to still show up as an entrepreneur, to come onto a talk show and to like be energized as a woman. I want to honor that. I want to honor that how I'm feeling today does not need to influence how I'm showing up in the world in a way that is being judged or in a way that I'm judging it. Um, it's okay, and That's the authenticity piece. But we're so far removed from authenticity. I feel that that is the hardest part from that was the hardest part for me, is to get back in touch with that. I I think the best way to describe it was is that every time my coach would point me into the heart space and say, is this where you is this your is this your essential self? She referred to it as the essential self. Um, I would say, yes, it is, but and I would bring the logical, the learned, the adapted self into play. And that's why I said earlier, I don't think we're ever done from the School of Emerging Women, because this isn't something we can just learn and check off and say, oh, I'm enlightened now, or oh, I'm all authentic now. It's something that is ongoing, and it is an honoring and a reclaiming of that feminine wisdom that we have tucked away for so long, as and labeled as weak or labeled as not important in business. And I wholeheartedly disagree. I think it is very much needed in business, in corporate, and in our world in it as a whole, because when we bring both the masculine and the feminine value system back together, that's when we thrive. That's when we are not in this imbalance of and chaos that we find ourselves in.
I was at a presentation last night, and there was one woman who did a pitch. It was a pitch night for, and what's fascinating here in Calgary, we actually have the highest number of female entrepreneurs and developers in all of Canada. I didn't know that. That was very cool to learn last night. But one of the things that they
Mhm.
had talked about was there is this new, and I think it aligns very much with what you're speaking to. It's taking corporations and moving it into, like, Tom's Shoes really did an incredible job, and they're setting the precedence of that, it's no longer a value, but a give position. How are
Mhm.
they furthering the betterment of humanity through their product? Even if the product is, a can of soda, how does this product contribute to the triple bottom line, the people, the purpose, and the planet? So, how are we contributing? And I love the fact that we're starting to see these equation things come in. And I think that it's kind of sad that we have to see corporations do it in order to validate it for entrepreneurs. But I find a
Mhm.
lot of entrepreneurs moved into entrepreneurship because they wanted to work by the triple bottom line. So
Yes.
let's walk through a little bit of the business. It's basically a business of authenticity and messaging that you're
Mhm.
building. So
Mhm.
walk me through what you're doing today because I personally would love to like never have to worry about revenue generation or any of that kind of stuff again. However, that the truth is, ladies, we make money, we're able to give money, we're able to share, we're able to support, we're able to build, we're
Yes.
able to nurture. If you're making no money, then you're in a position of inequality and unable to do anything. Walk me through what you're doing. What is the drive of what you're doing with the Yvonne
Mhm.
brand?
Mhm. Mhm. And that's exactly it right there. Is I feel when we get stuck in the how and in the modality of the economics of it or the money, 100%, we need money in order to live in our society here. That's a fact. That's a truth. What my work in the world is helping women um, dismantle and not make it about money. I feel that when we operate from that true, authentic place and make money a secondary component, not the front runner, we will not only make more money in in a more sustainable way, but we'll also be more fulfilled along the way. And we're not burning out. We're not, hustling to race to the top only to get there and go, this isn't what I wanted. So my work in the world is helping busy women reclaim that feminine wisdom so that they can lead lives that they love without burning out. So my work in the world is wanting to stop this hustle for more outside of ourselves and bring it home, go here first and look into our heart space first and foremost and really come from that place of what is it I truly want. And when we identify it is we truly want, or in Daniel Laporte's words, how we truly want to feel, then what happens is we can create that and focus our energy and efforts on creating that and making money as a resource, a secondary conversation and not the primary conversation. So, in other words, if you're being led by money, I don't necessarily think happiness is at the end of that. Is money important? Yes, but it shouldn't be the driving part of the conversation.
It's interesting because there was a study done recently in North America that said that there was no differentiator for happiness once you surpass 250,000 a year. And yet we
Hmm.
are all chasing the 7 figures, right? So they're
Hmm.
literally, and this is an actual study done that the peak of happiness is between 120,000 and 250,000 a year. Peak of happiness. And after 250, there was no differentiator. And what I really found interesting, I was listening to a talk by Russell Brunson from ClickFunnels. Guy is like brilliant. He's like this little energizer bunny. He kills me. I just love watching him because he's entertaining. But he actually said when he coaches and talks to people that if when he asks what your goal is and they say make money, he said those would be people that are not successful
Hmm.
because they don't know why they're seeking success. Money
Hmm.
is a byproduct. It
Hmm.
is a byproduct. It's not money is not an action,
Yeah.
right? So I'd love for you to um before we move into your book and
Hmm.
how it serves and what the
Hmm.
readers can expect, I'd
Yeah.
love for you to share a little bit more insight. Give, if you're open to it, a
Yeah.
moment of resiliency in your life that really, without digging into that well of resiliency, you would not be having this conversation today.
Oh, there are many. There are many. We have moved so many times, and I don't know why I'm going there, but let's just roll with
Let's
it.
do this. Yeah.
Um, we have moved so many times, and I had to adapt into all these different societies or communities or cliques or groups, and every time it felt like I was putting on a new mask, and essentially I did. You know, I wanted to fit in. I wanted to belong, and the fastest way to do that is to just become who they are and roll with that. And um, my resilience really came through in recognizing that that's what I was doing. And now, when and if I still do that, stop myself and go, "Oh, yeah, there it is. I'm putting on a mask. I'm adopting what everyone else is saying and doing, and I'm losing my authentic self in this. So I need to just lean into why this is happening, what's happening, and then make a choice from there. And that's what freedom really is the choices we make. You know, I'm not labeling either one or the other right or wrong. I'm simply saying, recognizing and being aware that that's what's happening is where my moments of resilience really find an anchor and can come through again. Is awareness. And I'm very blessed to have had a lot of wonderful teachers in my life who really brought that piece out, that I can see the silver lining, if you will, very quickly in situations. Maybe sometimes even too quickly, where I bypass the actual lesson a little bit, but not to worry. You know, lesson will come back until you learn it. So, uh, but that's where resiliency has shown up for me over and over again, is in those moves that we have made, whether it was by choice, my choice, or whether it was my parents' choice to move. Um, Not to mention, you know, COVID. You know, the all the businesses that have shut down can relate to this. My business too took a little bit of a hiatus during that time. Um, yeah, I don't know if that's what you were looking for, Kim, but
No, that's exactly, and I love how you talk about the mask, and I think this is human nature, right?
mhm.
To don the mask of acceptance, right?
We all
And
just want to belong, right?
absolutely, and it's funny because I've never had this social etiquette. I am so ADHD and so out there that I've always felt on the outside of everything. I watch people who could put that mask on and very
Mhm.
successfully integrate themselves into a space. And yet I think what's happening is we have more and more people that are taking off that mask and letting their uniqueness, or as you know, some people call it their freak flag, right? Whatever you want to call it, letting it take place and say, okay, ye the masses, if you do like me, gather around. If you don't,
Yes.
that's all right. Move on down. And I think that's important, is keeping we don't need we don't need your everyday seat is not Instagram.
No.
Instagram is a digital interface for a reason.
Yes.
You only need one person to have coffee with. You don't
Yeah.
need thousands. So I love that, and I love that you
So true.
shared that, because that is such there is so much fear around showing people who you
Who
truly
we
are.
are.
Yeah, because, you know, you're the truth is there are people with passive aggressive tendencies, and they're going to put
Yeah.
that language out. I mean, I've received an email that going, "When you're ready for a mature conversation." Well, we know that those kind of comments, the more you put into a message, the more it is about you, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
It's less about the person you're speaking to. And I really I want you to really sit in that space that you're doing that and you're modeling it. When you do that, you model that. And
Mhm.
I don't think you're as I think you're I don't know how old you are. You look much younger than me. But I'm 54, and I know that it's my responsibility to model behavior. So a woman who is 44, and then the woman who is 34, this is how we change things, right?
Oh, I love that you said that, Kim, and that's exactly it. Is like, I did a talk yesterday for a women's appreciation event for Women's Day, and that's what we talked about, was collaboration, not competition. And that was one of my points, was is as women. we need to come back together and model each other how we want to be treated and how we can truly treat each other, because um, who else is going to tell us what's going to come, when I reach 55 or 54? What's going to be when I reach 60? Like, unless the older women talk to the younger women and younger women talk to the older women, we're never going to get onto a green branch. So we need to come back together and share our wisdom and our insights and our information. And the school of uh, the Academy of Emerging Women does that so well, because we are all different age groups. We're not all the same. We're not all one age group or one mindset or any of that. We are like-hearted, yes, um, and we are different ages, different archetypes. Listened to one of your podcasts on the Resilient show with Pia on talking about the crone, and I loved it. I resonated with it, and I just love when we have abilities to share that wisdom of, the different archetypes that where we're at and different life stages that we're at. It's so important, particularly right now in this talk about resilience in this world that we are existing in today. We need to come together to thrive. We can no longer play this game of competing against one another. It's just not going to get us anywhere.
I 110% agree. Um, don't look for the limited spots on the stage, build a bigger
Yeah.
stage. Don't worry
Yes.
about who gets the next piece of pie, bake another pie. The reality is we have all the ingredients, we have the ability within ourselves to make these spaces. And in today's world, the stages are abundant.
Yeah.
Right? There's no need to try and knock a woman off so you have a spot. Just
No.
get right up there with her, and the stage will accommodate. I mean, it will just grow larger for us. Um, I want to dive a bit into your book
Mhm.
because I think it's really important to be clear who we're writing for and what the reader can take away, because our time is not finite. Our time is of true high value. And if somebody invests their time into something that you've put out there, there needs to be a return of energy. So,
Mhm.
what is it? Let's walk through your book a bit, and what can the reader expect from it?
Mm. Um, well, the book, The Freedom Seeker: Reclaiming Feminine Wisdom, is a memoir about my life. A dedicated, overachieving career woman who has to confront her past in former communist Germany, and the lessons she had learned there, and the belief system she's adapted there, uh, to uh, to find her freedom in the patriarchal world that she found herself in when her family left communist Germany and moved into capitalism, which is the exact opposite um, economic system and structure and social system structure. So along the way, she faces in the book. She I describe my struggles with overwork, um, dependencies like alcohol, and and relationship struggles, dependencies versus interdependency with my husband specifically, and how I learned how to coexist with him and work together rather than each in our own silos. So that's what the book is about, and I wrote it um, because I wanted to share my story. I've been told so many times, Yvonne, you have such a interesting story. I wish you write a book. So I decided I'd go and write that book and get it done. Particularly because I was very much activated through the events of the last 2 years. They brought back they activated me on a cellular level. There was a lot of fear that came back to the surface that I had suppressed. I was actually surprised by some of the reactions I was having. And working with my coach, Carrie, she had said, "Well, maybe this is the time for you to sit down and write your story down." And I set out to share my story, and what it has done for me is really heal my stories. So I was able to feel it to heal it, and that's what the book is all about. It takes you on this journey with me.
I've heard the last few years, the pandemic, the world shutting down everything, being referred to as leaving society dysregulated. So fear, uncertainty, no end in sight, right? And in coming through this with the book, it's I wanna bring this all together, and I'm trying to find, because this is
Mhm,
what you're talking about is so poignant, and it's impacting so many people. Our
mhm,
young are being impacted. I was talking with a
mhm,
woman last night, and her son is dealing with, anxiety, has so much
mhm,
anxiety. And this is a young man just on the verge of true manhood, and yet he's been impacted so significantly
mhm,
through this dysregulation.
mhm.
Um, where does this go for you? How do people engage with you? Because you know that the book is like a gateway, right? And people need to understand nobody's ever going to get rich off a book anymore unless you're like, Mel Robbins signing a huge deal. Books are gateways to people's truth
Yes,
and to an individual's leadership. What
yes.
is the gateway for you in this book?
The gateway is an invitation to work with me one on one. I have I coach one on one, work with women one on one, and I'm just about to launch a new a revamped program that will launch in April. We're going to start talking about it in March. It's called Freedom Seeker, um, and what we will be doing in that program together is walk through a journey of rediscovering who you are at the core level, um, how to resolve what's in the way of your freedom, and then how to restore that trust with the world and with your own world, with your inner world, and the world around you. Um, that will be the essence, the foundation of this program. I wanted to go back to something you said about how the last 2 years have really affected so many of us from a mental health perspective. I
Yes.
I said earlier I'm very good at seeing the silver lining quite quickly, and I said right very early on, I said I can see how this is was um, the explosion we needed in order to for all of us to really stop and reprioritize, because it felt to me like we were all in very much in an autopilot position, and we were heading somewhere. No one could really tell us where we were going, but we were all going there, and we were burning out. We were so these mental health issues, I don't think were uh it's not that they're new since the pandemic. They were always there. It's just now we are actually aware of what's going on, and we're giving ourselves the space and time to recognize what's going on. And so one of the best ways to engage, not just with me, but in general with other humans on this, is by really acknowledging what's going on, talking about it, sharing your stories, not hiding away, and finding support. There are so many wonderful humans out there that are doing the work, that are helping heal in different capacities. There are so many healing modalities out there. Choose one that feels right to you right now, and address it. But you do not have to sit in this discomfort. That's one of the best parts about living in the society we're in. We're not confined, we're not restrained like I may have been in communist Germany. We have the choice here. Choose you. Choose a better mental health. Choose a better body health. Choose what you're putting into your body. Choose who you're listening to. Choose the programming that is happening.
The we have moved, and one of the silver lining that, technology-wise, that was delivered to us through this pandemic when we were all
Mhm.
confined. We literally shifted a decade easily on the journey from the industrial age to the age of knowledge into an age of renaissance, of moving back into the creative space. Because as we see by ChatGPT, we're going to be able to find machines and artificial intelligence that will do the menial things.
Mhm.
They will never be able to recreate the space of authenticity that humans need in order to grow and excel.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take this off on it because I'll take this off on a little bit of a different tangent. I do want to ask you a question. How can we as
Mhm.
women, knowing that this
Mhm.
is International Women's Day and knowing what's going on in the Ukraine and families being displaced,
Mhm.
how can we, even just on a local level, because I know here in Canada we are accepting so many political refugees, war refugees, climate refugees. We're doing such an amazing job here in Canada helping to support. How can we, when given the opportunity in a common space, like at a book launch, right, or and at a local event, be aware, open ourselves to be aware that somebody maybe needs to speak or engage? What can we do to make ourselves better receptacles or
Mm.
more receptive to people who do need that leadership today?
What an amazing question, Kim. Um, I'm gonna quote Michael Jackson. Start with the man in the mirror. I think the best thing we can do is heal our own stuff, um, in order to be present for others out there. So for, something immediate, right now, I would say begin there. And what we can do when we go into common spaces, into communities, um, check yourself. Check yourself before you go into the situation. Bring presence into your world, slow down your heart, check yourself in, set an intention and say, I want to be open and receptive today, in this conversation. And then go in with that and leave all of the worries, all of the mind racing that is happening, that can happen to some people, going into networking or into community settings. Leave that at the door, check yourself, go in, and smile. I think smiling is one of the best ways to just show that we're open and receptive to having conversations. And then when if and when the conversation happens, Kim, I think it's really important to stay out of making someone right or wrong about how they feel. Just let them have their experience. And that was something that was very front and center for me during the COVID time, because so many labels get thrown out, and we don't know, maybe even sometimes we don't intend to hurt someone, but by not letting them have their experience of whatever they're experiencing right now, that's what we're doing. So whether you can resonate with it, like most of us probably can't resonate with what it feels like for this woman from the Ukraine, to come here to this foreign country, learning a new language and traditions and culture and all of that. But what we can relate to is being human, and just have have that compassion from that place. You don't have to understand all of it in order to be just loving and caring.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Where can people find you, follow you, and lean into your wisdom?
Well, the best place is my website, triple W. I know we don't need to say that anymore, hey? YvonneWinkler.com. It's YvonneWinkler.com, and my social links are on there as well. I do have a free Facebook community, that is called the Freedom Seeker Group, if you would like to join me there, and I'm on Instagram as well. Um, and that's, yeah, those are probably the best places to go to find me.
Wonderful. I always like to close out the show with a quote,
Mhm.
whatever resonates for you. And we'll leave this with people who listen today.
I love this. And I'm going to quote Michelle Obama. And the reason, is because I don't have one of my own quotes handy right now. So I'm going to quote Michelle Obama because it is poignant to what it is we're talking about today and for International Women's Day. She said on her Belonging tour, we can't afford to wait for the world to be equal to start feeling seen. She says you have to find the tools within yourself to be visible, to be heard, and to find your voice. And I think that that is just such a beautiful message for International Women's Day. We can't afford to wait. We need to take action. We need to choose our own future.
Not only for ourselves, but for the daughters and the young women we will leave behind because this is the legacy we create. This is the legacy. Yvonne, you are
Yes.
absolutely beautiful. I appreciate you, putting your story out there because we forget how fragile freedom is. We forget
Mhm.
uh, how to honor ourselves with our truth. And I think that you have brought a very holistic approach to addressing all of those issues and the issues in between
Mm.
by sharing your story. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, folks. I just want to say again, thank you for taking the time to listen to the show. Our entire goal is to leave the world a little bit better every time we put an amazing woman on this show. And you know what? International Women's Day. Well, let's make it month. Let's make it year. Let's make it every day. Every day. Okay, so everybody sit tight. Do watch this closing because I love the closing. Until next time, I'm your host,
You are.
Kim Hayden,
You are.
and this is Kim Talks Resilience. I love you. Take care of yourself. Thank you for joining us here today at Kim Talks Resilience. I'm your host, Kim Hayden, and I'd love to invite you to our resilient community at resilientgift.com. That's resilientgift.com, and we'll send you our magazine and tickets for upcoming events and all sorts of cool things we do here. So be sure to keep watching. And you know what? Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share because we all know that sharing is caring.